Hey, it's Cody. This is a VR to Rose Honey Ritual and Garden Goddess Tarot. This is the only 10 mass market decks tag. It's a spin on the only 10 decks tag that went around. I don't know. Was it a year ago? I don't know. I have a horrible sense of time. So in this tag, if I could only pick 10 decks, and they have to be mass market to keep, what would I pick? So I don't, it was not one of the original two videos that I started watching. Yeah, it was. I think it was Rose Honey Rituals. And as soon as I saw this, I stopped. I did not finish watching the rest of the video. When I see tags like this, I like to not watch anyone else's. Because I don't want to be influenced by what other people are showing, or like start second guessing myself, or oh, should I have that deck? Maybe I shouldn't. There's no point in me showing what my 10 decks would be, if it's the same as somebody else's. So, I did watch the beginning part of her video, and then I stopped before she got into the decks because I didn't want to be influenced by anyone else's stuff. Also, I was super excited about this tag because I know some tarot readers and collectors especially, I think, get a little bit snobby about, oh, is that mass market? Mine is indie. I love indie decks, do not get me wrong, but they're not the end-all be-all of decks, right? There are artists working hard on these mass market decks as well. And yeah, I think every tarot reader should have at least a couple mass market decks that they don't mind just fucking trashing. Fucking anyone can touch it, anyone can shuffle it, it's on a fucking public park bench, it's on somebody's disgusting table after the food's been cleared away. I think it's an important thing, also for people especially starting out, or even just people with tighter budgets. I've only been able to start getting independently published decks more recently in my tarot practice. They were unfortunately just cost too much for me to be able to justify that kind of price. More recently, my financial situation has changed, and I've been able to get some indie decks, get some back some Kickstarters. But I don't ever want anyone to watch this channel, really any of them, and think that this is what you've got to be doing to be a tarot reader. It's fucking not, alright? So, with, I think, the rise of tarot being trendy right now, the mass market decks have actually gotten a lot more expensive. I've been waiting for, I think it's called the, Fyodor Pavlov's tarot. I watched it being made, I watched it be indie, and did not have the money to get that, and it's mass market now, and it is selling mass market for $50. I'm not, picking on this deck or anything. I still am absolutely 100% going to get that shit. But goddamn, I remember when the Wildwood Tarot was, $29.99, and I was like, what the fuck? So it's getting up there, alright? It's getting up there. But still, financial situations, and even just maybe what you're into, can call for mass market decks. And I really like that this is specific to the mass market decks. And I have a lot of these that I love. Quick piggy warning on this video. It's fucking cold outside. My pet pigs are inside. And so if you hear literal monster noises, it's just them, and I apologize. Okay, so without further ado, well, a little bit of ado, but here's a deck. Alright, this part of the rules of this, you can pick 10 mass market decks, but if you're picking an RWS or a Thoth, it doesn't count for your 10. So this is honorable mention. This is the Wiser Tarot by Wiser Books, and if I get to keep for free, within the context of this this tag, if I get to keep an RWS, it's going to be this one. But I will say that I did not originally pick an RWS for this, but I decided to after. So if I'm keeping a copy of this, I think it would be this one. I like the diversity. I like that there's purple in it. It's like matte cardstock. I can shuffle it. There's a lot that I like about this deck, and I would pick this over like a more traditional RWS any day. So this is my 11th honorable mention. But I would definitely keep this one. Thoth can go though, I will say that. Alright, so to start off, I have 3 Oracle decks, mass market, that I would keep. And the first one is the Magic of You Oracle. I've said it before, but I'll say it again really quick. The cover of this really like turned me off it for like years, like 3 years. This deck was out and I completely ignored it, which actually sucks because I really like this deck. Oh my god. It's so shiny and the lighting is so shitty right here. This, okay. I'm going into this challenge a tag, assuming that I get to keep the guidebook. If not, someone please correct me. I'm gonna have to change some of my decks. But I do still use the guidebook some for this, but not that much. I have used this deck enough that for the most part I know what these cards mean. I mean, you know, actually I would keep this one even if I'm not allowed to keep the guidebook. I mean, I guess I could just go off of the little key phrase on here. But this deck pairs really well with a lot of tarot decks that I have. It works really well for me on its own. It has that like, it's like creepy beautiful. I feel like it has some of the things in here aren't that common to see in Oracle decks. I feel like this is a darker Oracle deck, and for a very long time Oracle decks were always very just positive and fluffy and really didn't get into things. Detox. Oh my god, what just happened? Okay, I guess it doesn't like that one. Damn, it just hated that card. Alright. So I would 100%, this is one of the first decks I thought of that I would keep. I were only allowed to keep 10 mass market decks. It does not come with the colored edges. I colored these. Next up, you're going to notice that most of these have bags that I've made. It's because these are my favorites. This is another Oracle. This is the Brian Froud's Fairies Oracle. Again, I'm assuming that we get to keep the guidebooks, because I don't have these cards memorized. So, alright. This, not only is it Brian Froud's amazing, amazing fairy work, but, okay, this is one of the weirdest decks that I own. I will not use this deck for like months. And then all of a sudden I just think of it, this shit, out of nowhere. Like it just calls. It's like, hey bitch, I got something to say. So then I pull it, and it just, every once in a while they've just got a warning for me. It's so weird, and I got this deck when my oldest son was a baby, and he just turned 13 in October. So I mean, it's been over a decade of this deck just occasionally yelling for me to pull from it. And the weirdest thing is, I had mentioned this to somebody else, and she said the same thing. She's like, yeah. Or she'll message me, and she'll be like, I thought of fairies. And I'll be like, oh, fuck? Because if somebody else thinks of fairies and tells you that they thought of fairies, then you're now thinking about fairies and you have to pull from fairies, right? But I found other people say that about this deck too, and that's just so... What a weird quality for it to have. I don't have any other decks that do this. It seems to be most active, like spring and fall, sort of liminal in-between times. But really it can just decide it's got shit to say anytime. Which is super weird, but I would never get rid of this deck. Like, these fairies would come and kill me in my sleep. Like, I would not get rid of this for the world. I mean, if something happened to this copy of it, which is entirely possible, the cardstock is shit, but I would absolutely buy this again. You know, I feel like that might be a good metric. If something happened to it, would I buy it again? I did color the edges of this. Goddamn. And I'm pretty proud of, like, the match. I feel like it was pretty close. Alright, so that was, Brian Froud. I think it's the Fairies Oracle, or the Fairy Oracle. I don't know for sure. Alright, the third and the last, of the Oracle decks. Okay, I left this in its full packaging because I want to complain about it. This is the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck. This deck is instrumental in my practice. Well, okay, wait. Well, first let's look at this fucking packaging, alright? Magnetic closure. Humongous, right? Alright, so open this up. Mine came, I don't know if this is like water damage or what exactly. Alright, we got a little thing, ribbon to pull it. Alright, this, again, I have to have the guidebook with this one. So, inside the box, we have another box. And I hate that. Fucking hate it. I don't like this packaging at all. Alright, that's a mess. Okay, so we'll look at these cards while I talk a little bit about how I use this deck. I do a lot of spirit work in my practice. They're not really, you know, spirits that everybody knows. Just random shit that shows up, right? And a lot of times it helps me to have an idea where it's coming from. And so when I ask spirits to identify themselves, this is the deck that I go to. I'm not really late. I'm kind of extending November shadow journeying partially through the month of December. I'm not about to rush this shit, but it's kind of a process of, like, pulling something out of yourself. And I speak to it again with this. It's not even necessarily its own entity, right? It's part of myself. But again, I ask it to identify itself with this. If I were ghost hunting, or there was a haunting, I would pull this deck out and I would ask whatever's coming through, whatever's, you know, trying to communicate, or I'm trying to communicate with, identify yourself. This is the usefulness of this deck sort of supersedes the art, which is weird for me because a lot of times I'm very much about the visual representation, you know, how the things are being shown on the cards. And for this one, it's a combination of Kim Kranz's drawings that I'm really familiar with from just the Wild Unknown Tarot. And then also some, like, collage kind of work. Just some weird shapes and colors. And as much as I would never look at this deck and be like, hell yeah, beautiful, it's very evocative. And you can, I don't know if you can get it, like, seeing a video of it, but if you can really, when you're holding it in your hands, you can feel what the cards sort of mean. I don't know how to explain that, but That was the best I can do. So this deck, I would absolutely take with me. If I only had 10. Something about the familiarity to me of, like, Kim Krantz's animal drawings with just some of the bizarreness here. Here's the underworld. A little bit reminiscent of Wild Unknown's Ten of Swords, I think, where there's, like, worms chopped up and shit. There's, like, eyeballs in here. I don't know. It's a very, that makes me feel feelings when I'm looking at it, and I think this is exactly what I'm looking for in a deck where I'm trying to, like, communicate with other things. This also sort of feels like it should be an indie deck to me. Like, it's just kind of weird, a weird idea to have gone mass market, and it's probably because of the success of the Wild Unknown, you know, that gave her the opportunity to get something like this published mass market. And I absolutely, I like this deck better than the Wild Unknown. It's not in here, it's just this one. So, was the Wild Unknown Archetypes. I recommend this. Love it. Alright, so now we're to the tarot decks. If you followed me on Instagram for any length of time, Instagram's really my home base, you will have seen the goddamn Raven's Prophecy Tarot. This thing is in absolute shit shape. But absolutely, this is one of my favorite decks. I don't pull it out as often as I used to, but that doesn't mean I don't love it as much. Like, I don't know how to explain that. It's the colors, it's the choices for how to illustrate the ideas of the cards that I love. This also goes with, this was created by an author, Maggie Stiefvater, who wrote one of my absolute favorite fictional series of all time, The Raven Cycle. So reading the books does give you a little more insight into the cards. I mean, you have, like, the story to attach it to, but it's something you can absolutely use with no knowledge of the books either. I would buy this deck again in a heartbeat. I've at times considered buying, like, a backup copy. I don't want to get started on, like, the backup copy shit, but, like, what if something happens to this? I don't know. I liked the High Priestess as a mirror. So, Raven's Prophecy Tarot. Oh my god. It needs a new bag desperately. I need to make it a new one. This is old and not the best. My yarn choice was not the best for the kind of use that this deck gets. Alright, next up, I don't think people would be surprised if they've watched other videos or if they, like, follow me on Instagram to see the Dreamkeeper's Tarot show up here. I colored the sides. This deck was traded to me, and honestly I didn't really think that I was going to be that into it. It wasn't really my usual style. I've come to realize, partially because of this deck, that my usual style doesn't always even have to be a thing. Like, if I look at the artwork and it sparks my intuition, then I'm gonna go for it, regardless of if I necessarily think that the artwork is attractive. Like, it's like what I sort of touched on with the Wild Unknown Archetypes deck. I get things out of this deck, and that to me has become the most important part of reading the cards, rather than fitting a certain aesthetic, or, like, would this look good on my altar, or, like, those aren't considerations to me. They're just not. I don't like this card because this guy reminds me of, shit. You know in the first Iron Man movie, the bad guy? That actor looks like him. That's all I can think about when I see that card. But this is such a weird fucking deck. I wasn't sure how I felt about, like, the busier, digital collage kind of stuff. But it turns out I really, really like this deck. I use it for full moon readings a lot. And it just, the kind of darker blues, I don't know, just something about this works so well with the full moon for me. So I would definitely take Dream Keepers if I could only keep 10 of these. Oh my god. Like, I would keep Dream Keepers even if it wasn't just mass market. Like, if it was, I could even be taking indie decks with me, Dream Keepers would still be going. Next up, oh my god, is Tarot of the Hidden Realm. This is one of those surprising decks. I've said before, I've mentioned that I have a, like, used deck list. Like, if I find, a lot of times, like, mass market decks that have been out for a while, why is it looking at that? I'll be like, you know, if I find a copy of this up for trade or for sale secondhand, then I'll get it. And this one was actually just an add-on to another deck that I had done that with. And they were like, oh, I have this too. Okay, I guess I'll take it. This has really become a fast favorite of mine. And just looking at the photos of it online, I was like, I'm not really into, like, the people's faces. But it turns out that I am. If the artwork was not done this well, it wouldn't work. Yeah, it just wouldn't. The artist for this deck is currently, I think she might be finished with the artwork now. I can't remember her name. Yeah, she's finished with the artwork for a new deck. I think, fuck, Witches something. Well, good thing I'm saying this and I can't remember shit about shit. But the same artist is working on another deck right now. I'm not exactly sure when it's supposed to be coming out, but I am very excited for it. So, yeah, I would keep this. So my edges I colored. I don't know how I feel about the color that I chose, but it's what I did, and I can't take it back now, so. Alright, next up, I don't think anyone will be surprised either to see, some people probably even see this bag and are like, oh, for Christ's sake. Tarot of the Vampires by Ian Daniels. Again, I'm assuming I get to keep the guidebook. I love the guidebook for this deck. There are even people, there was some tag about that you got, like, just for the guidebook or something. I didn't get this just for the guidebook. This gives me, like, I don't know. I was a vampire kid as a child. One of my earliest memories is awful. It's awful. I can't believe I'm about to say it, but I've already introduced it. I was probably 5 or 6, and I had this little stuffed animal. I don't even know where it came from, but it was like a Dracula. It had little fangs drawn on it. Had a little cape sewn on. So fucking cute. I took that thing everywhere with me. And then my great-grandfather was in hospice, and we went to visit him. And I accidentally left the vampire there. And my mom wouldn't let me go back in the room and get it. She was, like, crying and leaving. I was a little kid. I didn't really understand what was happening around me. And I was crying, too. But mine was because my fucking vampire was gone. So, Anyway, now that that's out there, sometimes I still think about that vampire. Like, where did it go? I hope someone picked it up and gave it to their kid and somebody else loved it. But reality is they probably just fucking put that shit in the trash. I love vampires. That's why I have this. There are things I like about this deck. There are things I don't like about this deck. What I do like is I like this, like, type of vampire. Very suave. Very debonair. I mean, that guy's okay. He's kind of a monster. I'm not really the biggest fan of, like, this crap. Oh god, here we go. Okay, I like the moon. Like, what you doing, bitch? I guess that's okay. Okay, I'm sitting here and I'm like, damn, a lot of these cards I don't like. I like this. She's okay. I like to pretend that this is Bella imagining herself being a vampire from Twilight. So, yeah, I would take this. I don't know why I'm saying take it. Like, I guess I'm imagining, like, I live in Colorado in the US where there's a lot of wildfires and, like, sometimes you get evacuation orders. I guess I'm just imagining they're like, get out of your house right the fuck now. I'm like, okay, I can only take 10 mass market only decks. I don't know, but I like this guy. I like her. Yeah. It's a cool deck, and people like to say that they only have it for the guidebook. While I do really like the guidebook, it's certainly not why I got it. Sorry, I always, like, sit on my foot, and if I'm sitting here talking too long, my foot goes to sleep, so I gotta, like, sit on the other one. No, I got this because I like vampires, so... I colored the edges of this, too. I don't know why I always say that. I don't ever want people to think that, like, I have a special version or something that... I don't know. This is my little... I think it's called Mariel Jasper, they called it. It's like black with red on it. It's kind of hard to see in this weird-ass lighting. Alright. Oh, shit. Next is... I have a hard time remembering the name of this deck. I think it's the Forest of Enchantment Tarot. I feel like this is probably on a lot of people's list. Like, if they have this deck, it's probably on this. Very fairy tale, storybook. It's not necessarily from specific fairy tales, I don't think. But it's got that feeling. This is one of my decks. This was in my Always Grab Why video too, because I don't remember why, but I don't know why I just said that. I'm literally getting ready to tell you why. And more, I think that I don't remember what I actually said in the video, but this one, I always know what it means. I always know what it's getting at. I'm never like, oh shit, I don't know why it's giving me this card right now. I always know. I might not want to know, I might not want to acknowledge what it's saying to me, but I do always know. So for that reason, I grab this a lot for, like, readings for other people too, but that does not stop me from using it for, you know, really personal kind of shit for myself too. So if I were leaving my house and I could only pick one mass market deck and there was a potential for me to need to read for other people, I think this would be the one that I would grab. This is one of my absolute favorite High Priestesses out of any deck. Love her. The guidebook is kind of short but sweet, and it talks about, you know, she can tell you a little bit about each of the paths, right? One in shadow, one in light, but she can't tell you which direction you should take. I love that. So yeah, this deck is so cool. I love this deck. Colored the edges of this too. Probably needs another coat because they're not, like... I don't know why this doesn't want to, like, focus on this. Look at this goddamn sun. Quit looking at the sun. This is my really old cloth that I used to put on my altar like years ago when I first, like, got the table that I even use now. It sucks ass for taking pictures on, and apparently videos. I did make sure Sagittarius is over here because My birthday is in Sagittarius, and it's Sagittarius season. Okay, so for my 9th deck, this is the Witch's Wisdom Tarot. Get out of there. Huge. I hate the size of this, but also I feel like I would be mad if the cards were smaller because I like seeing the artwork on them. I don't know. This is such a weird deck. It has the major arcana swapped. So, like, they're going backwards. It does, well, the Fool, you know, is still 0 in the middle. But, like, the Magician is at the end. It's got renamed, majors too, though. It's kind of hard to explain. I love this card. But rather than, you know, starting out as the Fool and, you know, learning these more and more complex lessons as the Fool moves through the majors, this is the opposite idea of putting down and just unlearning almost harmful kinds of things. And I really like that about this. The artwork is interesting. It's just very much a deck that I would not like to be without. Come on, where's some majors? Oh no, the one thing that I hate about this deck. This is its death card. I hate this about it. It's called Witch's Wisdom. And the idea of the lessons in death are absolutely part of the wisdom of a witch. And I fucking hate that card is like, rebirth. Okay, we're gonna pretend like, alright, now look, like, here's the star and it's number 5. Monkey butts. This is such... This is a deck I always pull out in the warmer months. Ooh, I see one of my favorite cards right here. So I would definitely take this one. I'm still saying take. Like, nobody said that I'm, like, leaving my house with these decks. I don't know why. I guess I just invented a little tale for myself that I don't know. Alright, so last, but definitely not least, is the Mariel Tarot. This is the first edition. And it's very shiny. Sorry about the window right here. I don't know how to explain my relationship to this deck. I don't draw from it that often, I'll be completely honest. But if I needed it and didn't have it, that would be a fucking nightmare. Like, the way that I work with this deck is it's for very important readings to me. I don't want to get too much into how I actually use it. I did read the guidebook some. Christian mythology just isn't really my thing. And a lot of it, I think, is actually based in that sort of sphere. So really, for the most part, if I really feel like I need to take a look at the guidebook, I will. But like a lot of these decks, I said that I'm assuming I'd have to keep the guidebooks. If I didn't have the guidebook with this one, I'd be just fine. Like, I don't have a problem understanding what these cards are saying to me just by looking at the artwork. Does that make sense? This is such a beautiful, it's well thought out deck. Yeah, when I need this deck, I fucking need this deck. Like, no other deck is going to do for me what this one does. And that makes this deck just invaluable in my collection. Yeah, I love her. I know a lot of people in the second edition, the Hierophant has been changed, and this card bothered a lot of people, but I love it. Like, that discomfort, I feel like fits the Hierophant for me, and I fucking love it. I'm just like, I'm just sitting here myself looking at the cards now. So, these were my, only 10 mass market decks. Now I'm going to go watch other people's. I'm interested to see how many of the decks that I picked are also on other people's lists. My predictions, I'm probably going to see, I feel like I'll probably see the Mariel somewhere else. I suspect I'm going to run into the Force of Enchantment and probably Tarot of the Hidden Realms. So now that I've finished recording this, I am off to watch some of those. Thanks for watching. Bye.